Okay, so today I have a bit of a personal announcement before we go ahead and get started on today's topic. And that is, as of this video, I have sold majority of my belongings. I have taken a leave of absence from work, and I am traveling for at least the next 9 months up to a year with my husband. We're going out west to live on a farm in Idaho at a family member's, and I'll be devoting my time and energy to my business, my YouTube channel, and all the other things in my life rather than sitting in a cube. It's really scary, and I am really excited to bring this interview to you today. So if you are a digital nomad, or you want to become one, or you want to leave the office 9 to 5 type job, which most of you probably do, you probably already know that time management shifts, and how you schedule, how you manage everything shifts when you leave a more externally structured lifestyle, like living and working at a 9 to 5 job. So I brought in a personal friend of mine. Her name is Vita. She and I met years ago in New Orleans at a yoga festival, and she has been a digital nomad since before I ever met her. And she is sharing with us amazing tips on how to manage your time as a digital nomad, or if you are an aspiring digital nomad, or you want to become CEO of your time and energy, this interview is for you. Vita has passport stamps from 20 countries and 6 continents, which is just amazing. And I'll let her tell you about all the amazing things that she has learned about and done since she has become a digital nomad a few years ago. All right, let's hear from Vita. Thanks so much for joining us today, Vita. I'm really excited to introduce you, bring you on my channel, and yeah, it's been really wonderful having you as a friend. If you didn't know already, me and Vita are friends, and we met in New Orleans. And I've looked up to her in a lot of ways. We've worked together. We've worked through entrepreneurship together in some ways, so I'm really excited to bring her on the channel. Do you want to introduce yourself and share a little bit about you and what you do?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for that really sweet intro. This is actually my first talk, so hopefully I don't ramble too much. But generally, so about 5 years ago, I quit my job in Los Angeles and decided to move with my partner to Australia. And that's where I first experienced the beauty of working remotely and traveling. I first started working in a marketing agency that allowed me to have a few days off to work remotely. Not days off, but days off from the office, I guess. And that helped us towards our goal of seeing as much of Australia as we possibly could. And we went to all the states, which I'm super stoked about that we got to do before, this pandemic hit. So after my time in Australia ended and we were moving to New Orleans, I really didn't want my time to end as a location independent person and being able to manage my time how I wanted. And so I decided to start my business, Vita Social, to help people with their digital marketing. So I've been working as an independent digital marketer for 3 years. And while building my business and my client base, I was able to live in 5 cities and travel to 8 countries. And I just calculated that in 2019, I spent 160 days working remotely, like on the road, while working. So hopefully with my experience, I can give some insight and some tips into strategies that I've used along the way to manage my time and my relationships with my clients. And the first thing really is discipline. It seems a little contradictory because you think of travel and you think of being kind of a free spirit with no routine and just doing whatever you want. And it's kind of true. I hate routine. But constantly being in a different place, you have to be disciplined to be able to work anytime and anywhere. So you don't have the luxury of having an office chair like I just do right now. You're on your laptop, you're in a lounge, you're in a car, on your hotspot, whatever it is, and you just have to make yourself work. And yeah, that's a big thing, especially when you're in a new country and it's kind of like a shiny toy. You want to explore and see as much as you want. So the best thing with that, I would say, is to plan out your work days, and then plan out what you want to see. And then by mapping it out roughly, it's not going to go completely to plan, but, set a time to end your workday. If you want to work 8 to 5, go for it. And then at 5, you can go explore your new town. Or say you want to explore until noon, and then you work from 1 to 5, and then from 7 to 10 or 11. Like, you have to be okay with doing that. And
I'm going to pause you there.
Yeah.
I love what you just said about, choosing that like structure around, maybe you didn't say, so what I heard also with being a time management coach, like, choosing that structure around when you work best. I think it's really important if you are a night owl and you want to balance, if you're traveling and you want to see things and you have to work, finding when you work best, because then you can set your work hours up to that time. And then when you don't work best, like if you're, like I said, if you're a night out, you could explore in the morning. And I love that you just said that. And I think, it's really important to make sure that when you're most energized and motivated and focused, so you can set your schedule up to that time frame.
Oh yeah, totally. I'm worthless between like 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. Again, going back into the discipline thing, I've worked on being able to kind of like work through that time if I need to, but I also know that time is really hard for me. And so I try to either do like really easy tasks, or just avoid that time completely and go for a walk, or take a late lunch, or do a yoga class, whatever, go grocery shopping. I don't know.
That's great.
Yeah. So I feel like that kind of goes into what I was going to talk about next, is knowing yourself. You have to know what your strengths are, what your distractions are, what your vices are, and just like, you have to know yourself inside and out to be able to manage your time effectively. And so something that I tried when I was first trying to figure out like how to really manage my time effectively was do an audit of my day. And I did it for probably like 3 days. And this can, last however many days that you would want, or to really realistically figure out where your time is going. And I mean, like, literally audit every single thing that you do. So
I remember when you did this.
What?
I remember when you tracked your time, like, I think, maybe like a year or 2 ago, like you were telling me about it, and I was like, what? That's so cool.
Yeah, like, I was like, how much time does it take me to go to the bathroom? How much time does it take me to shower? How long do I spend on my phone? And after being able to audit my time, I was able to make adjustments. At a certain point, I felt like I was taking showers for like way too long, like 15, 20 minutes. And I wanted to narrow it down to like 5 minutes. So I would set a timer for myself. And, it can be whatever you want. Like, maybe you're spending too much time on social media. I used to spend about an hour on social media in the morning, which is a terrible way to start your day. And so many of us do it, and it's kind of a recent thing, but I hated that I was spending so much time on something that wasn't really working toward, or like, I wasn't doing it for my clients or for myself during that time, really. And by knowing that that's something that I did, I was able to either cut it out or shorten the time. Yeah, so once you know your habits, and you can just do this in your notes app, like just start a new note and put down everything you do and how long it takes you. After you kind of figure that out, I would say the next biggest thing is staying organized. And so how do you track what you do, right? You can use a bunch of different project management tools. Like there's Asana, Trello, Evernote. Again, none of those really work for me. Those are options, but again, I'm like super simple and I just use the Notes app on my iPhone. And I think you actually showed me that you can put headers and like little check marks. And so that's what I do. I limit myself to 3 to 4 tasks per day, and schedule my week ahead of time, which again is so important when you're traveling, because you have to know what days you can work, and what days you can't. And then you can set your deadlines around those travel days. Yeah, basically for travel days, if it's a big travel day, like you're taking a flight, I try not to schedule any big like deadlines or work tasks, just because there's too many distractions. There's nerves, things don't go to plan, like your flight might get canceled last minute, you might be stranded at the airport, like whatever it is. So don't promise anything to your clients on a day that you travel. Use that time to go through your emails or do some other kind of like tedious tasks. And I mean, even though I just said all this, like, I think working on an airplane is sometimes my most productive time because you have no distractions.
Yep.
You don't have Wi-Fi. Usually, Southwest is great. They have internet for $8. Love them. But generally, like I take that time to plan kind of my next steps or plan my week or think about creative things for projects.
Whenever I'm on a plane, I go through my contacts on my phone. I go through my photos. I go through and organize like all my notes. Like I feel like I always do like that tedious stuff. So yeah, that's really great advice.
Yeah, because you don't really want to spend time on all that stuff when you're at home or you could be doing something else. So that's a great time to work on that kind of stuff. Yeah, and then manage expectations of your clients. I think managing your time means managing expectations for them, because you have to let them know kind of what your deadlines look like and find a mutual timeline. So if you know that you have a big trip coming up, like it's probably not a good idea to tell them that you're going to be able to complete like a massive project during that time. So schedule your deadlines before your trip or after your trip. Or if you're somewhere for an extended period of time, just see kind of when your more like relaxed days are. Just because like it's tiring. Travel days are tough. So you want to relax at night, or you want to like take a day off the next day, especially if you're traveling internationally. Like coming back from Australia, I was jet lagged for like a week. And the day after, I was like, there's no way I'm doing any work. And that's totally okay. And again, being with the whole discipline thing, like I just do my work on a Saturday or a Sunday. But then I'm okay with it because I've scheduled my week like that.
Yeah. So something that I hear about, discipline a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, especially digital nomads, they're in it for the flexibility, they're in it for the freedom, kind of like what you mentioned in the beginning. And it's like, how do you find that balance for you individually, you uniquely, um, between being human and being flexible and being, um, the beautifulness of like being alive and structure and working, and like getting those tasks done. And like, how were you able to find that discipline? What did you have to tell yourself? What did you have to do?
Um, I will not say that I'm the best at like telling myself that I need to do something and just like feeling motivated to do it. So a big tool that I use is tomato timer or the Pomodoro technique. So I'll just like go on that app and tell myself that I'm going to work for 25 minutes on whatever task that I need to get done. And usually by the time that 25 minutes is up, I have momentum, and I'll take that 5-minute break, and then I'll start another 25-minute chunk. And then if I don't feel motivated for some reason, at least I can be like, okay, I did 25 minutes. Now I'm going to go eat for an hour. Then I'll try it again.
I tried. Yeah, I tried.
But usually it works. Another thing, meditation. Sometimes meditating for 10 minutes just really resets your day. And if you don't meditate, like my partner, he is the king of naps. And so take a nap, because it's kind of the same thing. You clear your mind, you're able to fall asleep and kind of just like reset.
They are the same, yeah, right? Because your body goes into some sort of parasympathetic nervous system response, right? So yeah, I love that. And I love that you brought up meditation, because, forcing yourself to do work, you're not going to be productive. You're not going, it's going to drag on. You create stress in your body. Like, there's so many negative impacts that happen when you try and force yourself to do something instead of, giving yourself a break and resetting. And yeah, that's really great that you said that.
Yeah, thanks. And that kind of is what works for me. And sometimes I just know that I work really well at night when I have no distractions. And I kind of wanted to touch on time zones, like working in different time zones. So currently I'm in Jacksonville, Florida, and I have clients in mainly California. So I have 3 hours time difference. But I also had a client that was in London, and then when I was in Australia, like that's like 17 or 18 hours time difference. So managing that, for me, it was about being really conscious of like when those deadlines are in the different time zone, and making sure I didn't miss that with like those deadlines. Like I once had a deadline that was at 3 a.m. So I really had to plan in advance and make sure I had stuff done before that. Like I didn't stay up till 3 a.m. Yeah, and with that, you might have calls at 11 p.m., which is always fun. But that's kind of something, again, is like, okay, I know I have a call at 11 p.m., so I'm going to like take an hour at some other point in my day to not do work. Yeah, I feel like that's a lot of what I have. So if you have any questions, any other things that kind of came up while I was talking.
Yeah. One of the, I don't know, I just think it's like so important. So for those of you who don't know, I'm about to quit my 9-to-5 job and move. By the time this airs, I'll have already moved and become a digital nomad, which is why I'm so excited about this interview. But I think it'll be a whole new challenge of managing my time and learning myself on a whole new ball game playing field. And I'm really excited about it. And one of the biggest things that I had to come face to face with when I was starting my business, knowing that I was going to eventually become a digital nomad, was my success and my goals, my long-term vision of traveling and seeing the world was more important than getting distracted by social media in the mornings. Or I don't know, I'm a fan of like 20-minute showers. I know it's not the greatest for water supply, so I'm working on it too, but gotta get clean and enjoy my life a little bit there. But yeah, I think a major question that we have to ask ourselves and get really clear on is my success, is my vision more important to me than, whatever distraction I'm letting get in the way? And especially if you have clients to answer to, it's super important. Like, is making my client happy, getting a review, potentially getting potential new opportunities down the road more important than getting distracted? And it feels counterintuitive to meditate or to take a nap, but like it's not. You have to train your brain to know and recognize and realize that by meditating or taking a nap is not anti-productive or anti-work or anti-opportunity or abundance. It's a really important mindset shift to make when you are transitioning to managing your time in
Right.
any capacity.
Piggyback off that, why we want to be location independent or free from kind of our schedules in an office, or whatever job you might have, is not to go back and recreate the same life, to work from 9 to 5. Like, that is something that as a society we've been told that we need to do. But if your work takes you less time, then relish in that. Like, that is okay. And that's part of creating your own timeline for whatever you do, and being able to manage it how you want. Don't be afraid to take breaks or like unconventional work days, because that's not why you kind of went into it in the first place, at least for me.
No, yeah, I totally resonate, and it's really interesting, starting your own business. It's your baby, it's your passion, you care so much. Or, if you're working for clients and you're making a brand for yourself, working for clients, freelancing, or, whatever you're working on, it's really important to not overwork yourself. It's a whole new life. It's a whole new structure, it's a whole new society that we can potentially shift to. It's not working in a small cube for 10 hours a day. Like, that isn't what our lives are. In my opinion, like, that's not what life is for. Like, that's not what life is living. But yeah, it's really great that you brought that up. And it's so hard to like restructure your brain from like 9 to 5 thinking to a more fluid routine. But that's why you gotta manage your time.
Right.
Gotta get your projects done. And yeah, it's really wild, like balancing the material world with like this creature. We're live, we're breathing, we're humans, we have like this connection to the universe. And yeah, it's really important. It's one of my values to like not work my life away.
Yeah.
So I'd rather work a few hours a day than 9 or 10 and be exhausted, but that's just us.
Right. I mean, I think a lot of the time the people who want to be nomadic or to travel and work, that isn't like what, like, you want to work to live, right? That's what people say. You don't want to live to work, you want to work to live. And yeah, and I think that's like another big thing that I learned in Australia, because I feel like life is very much in that mindset.
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you have a whoopsie story or like something that you did that you've learned from, like maybe taking on too many clients at once, or like something in terms of time management and being a digital nomad?
Yeah, I mean, like, especially like when you're still trying to like figure yourself out and like your work habits and getting to know yourself, because that whole thing is the process. Like, it doesn't just come right away. So yeah, I mean, there's loads of times where I think generally people, like humans, we are very optimistic. We generally overestimate like how much we can get done in a day. And so you overestimate like how fast you can deliver something. And usually, so like I had to kind of learn that the hard way, where I'm like, yeah, of course I can get this article written in a week when I have like all these other priorities in my life right now. Or yeah, I can have meet this deadline, but oh, I'm going to be traveling for like 24 hours to Australia, you know. um and that's just like, I feel like it's trial and error, but I feel like generally just overestimate how much things are going to take you, and then over deliver. So kind of like Amazon packages, right? Like, if you know that if they tell you that something's coming in 2 days and it doesn't, you're pretty disappointed. But if they say it's going to come in a week and then they deliver it in 3 days, you're going to be so ecstatic and excited about their customer service and that extra effort that they took to get it delivered to you before time. So I feel like that's the same thing you can move over to your client expectations as well, and your time management.
Yeah, I love it. I love all the tips that you gave, and we're gonna be chatting about them hopefully when I'm a digital nomad in 2 months or whenever. But yeah, so thank you so much, Vita, for coming on today. And I loved all the tips that you gave, and just your experience and sharing some of your stories, and all the lessons that you have had to learn, some the hard way, some the easy way. And yeah, I'm just really grateful for you, and all the things that you're doing to live instead of work to live, work to work.
Thanks, Becca. It's been really great talking with you and being able to share a little bit of what I've been doing the past like 3 years.
Yeah, yay. All right, I'll see you later.
Okay, bye.
Bye.